Hello, everybody. We're going to have another good one today. Chock full of useful information and hopefully wisecracks that make you laugh here a little bit. A little bit of a dash of red pill truth information as well. So I appreciate seeing this week that we are loaded up with questions already, because I hate having to wait for questions. So you guys did well on that front. And I'm also early, and there's still plenty of questions here that you guys have asked already. So one thing I've noticed, just to shoot the shit here a little bit before we get started, is for sanity check, I've noticed that the economy is not good recently. And I call myself like a street level economist, because with 100 different ad accounts and 100 different markets or whatever, it's not quite that many that we're servicing currently, but almost basically, you get to see a cross section of what's going on in the real world. You don't have to listen to the news and just take what the government says with their numbers and what's going on. And whereas most businesses are doing okay that are selling need to have stuff, the really fringe stuff that is just like fruity stuff, all that stuff, some of those businesses are really struggling. And I certainly think it's due to the economy. And so, if in case your sales are down here the last, particularly since the government shutdown happened, it seems like since that started, things have slowed down. On the flip side, I think things is when we hit the new year, it's gonna come around again. I think this is a temporary thing. That whole government shutdown really freaked people out, and it slowed things down, and we got a hangover from that. So anyway, in case you were wondering why your ads might be suffering here a little bit, depending on what you're doing, if it's something that people can just hold back on, if it's something where people can be like, oh, I'll do that next month, you could be affected a little bit. So anyway, nice to see you guys here. I'm going to get into it. Yeah, Mustafa, you are always on it here. I think you may have set a reminder to show up here on time. Jonathan, how do you feel about enabling asset optimization in demand gen campaigns? I actually just recorded a video that I haven't published about this. And so ultimately I wouldn't use it automatically. If I'm stuck on scaling, I'm going to try to use it then. And just don't add the variable in there when you're starting out and trying to get your campaign to work. You add it in once you can't scale anymore, because it's a curveball, an unnecessary one that can kick things and loosen things up, certainly, and can be useful in some occasions. Not always. We've gotten help scale those campaigns with it before, and it wasn't. But we've also seen the results the profits not go up using it. So maybe it will help you, maybe it won't. Most of the time, it seems to help. That said, when you're, again, trying to get things stabilized at the beginning, I wouldn't necessarily break it out, because it's hard enough as is just to get the results and know if your creative's good enough, and to add that into the mix is what I would tell you. Borden, what are your thoughts about having to avoid the health and personalized advertising policy violation in demand gen campaigns? So I know a lot of people freak out about this. Really, it's just preventing you primarily by not doing remarketing. So, and you should still do remarketing. You just should do it through alternative platforms, Bing /AdRoll, where they don't give a shit so much whether or not you're doing remarketing in a health space, and add that to your Google strategy. So unless you're got no impressions, I wouldn't worry about it. And if you do have no impressions, try to do all the verifications that you need if you can get them done. And then also, how important is it to have an image ad in demand gen discovery Gmail ad group in addition to Square Video? Oh, and by the way, I just want to also add to your last thing, by the way. It's not that, obviously you may be able to get a few extra impressions if you got the health and personalized advertising message to go away. It's just nothing you can do to get it to go away. If they pin you down on that, it's primarily not going to let you do search remarketing and display remarketing. And there's nothing you can do. That said, it's not going to certainly stop you from making money. And where it does stop you, you can easily fill those gaps in on those other platforms I mentioned. But going back to your original or second question here, how important is it to have an image ad in demand gen discovery Gmail ad group in addition to a Square Video? I want to say quite a bit important. Can you make good money with video alone? Yes, you can. That said, it makes 0 sense to have a campaign that makes money that you just consistently don't try to add more ad copy in there, because that one ad is not by default going to be the best possible ad you can run. It's statistically not, it doesn't line up. So, and in some occasions, the image is going to do better. Sometimes the video is going to do better. Most of the time, the video is going to do better, generally speaking, but an image could do better. And at the very least, people don't think about it or realize it, but the combination of the ads is actually going to get both of the ads to work better. If you were planning to buy a new fishing rod and you saw the fishing rod video and then later on saw an image ad with that fishing rod on there, it's going to have a bigger psychological impact on you as a consumer than just seeing the one image or one ad, if you will. So to multiply how much you're making, you should have other ad copy. And and 2 ads will typically do better than 1. 3 ads will typically do better than 2, and it just keeps going. Of course, there's a limit on it at some point, but that limit's way beyond what people think it is. Like, we're talking 20, 30, 40 ads. If you look at the big direct-to-consumer brands and the players in the market, they are using dozens of ads. So not to say you should be overwhelmed by that, but your goal should be to make money and to constantly keep pumping out additional creative, which you don't necessarily have to run forever. Some of them are just going to be dogs, but your goal should be to run that couple dozen different pieces of ad copy, because your results are going to be double, triple what they were originally with one ad, just because you're using multiple ads in conjunction with one another that support each other. Also, would you recommend using audience targeting in a search campaign if you feel strongly about your targeting audience? For example, parents. So that type of thing is only going to be useful if you're using manual bidding for the most part, because the auto bidding is going to kind of do that automatically for you, because you can't do bid adjustments on it. And but if you can get results, manual bidding and then adding in the audiences and then bid adjustments on the different demographics and whatnot can be a way to hack the campaign to get results quicker than what the smart bidding is going to do. That's going to take longer to figure out than what you could figure out logically on your own, so to say. So if you're getting the ROI you want already through using smart bidding, then I would just let the smart bidding algorithm handle it, because it's going to slowly figure this stuff out for you. You don't have to do anything. If you can't make an ROI that's positive and you can't wait months, if not years, for the system to figure it all out for you, then you can go ahead and take your customer list, look at it, find out what makes people unique that are your ideal customers, and then use your manual bidding campaign, then add your audiences and add bid adjustments on the different levels. And that can certainly be a way to get it to work much quicker, to get it to a minimum ROI much quicker. Mustafa, any update on my video request? High demand niche, low competition. It's still coming. Anytime now, you should be able to see that coming through. Just to let you know, I usually make videos a couple months in advance before publishing them, because there's a whole team of people that I have where it has to go through video, graphics, audio. I know these videos I make doesn't seem like it's that technical or complicated, but you try making a YouTube channel and see how how complicated it is to do it even halfway correct. Like, people have no kind of concept of it. And it's the reason why, by the way, everybody on YouTube's begging for money, because it's expensive putting the video content together. I'm not bitching or complaining here. I'm just telling you, and one person, generally speaking, doesn't have all the talents to do it. So it's coming, buddy. XA, hi. What's up? Nice to meet you. I've never seen you here yet, so welcome. V4X, which website should I build when an B2C electrician to get the best PPC results? Thinking about Pimcore or WordPress. What would you do, Corey? I actually haven't worked with Pimcore, so I can't tell you anything about that yet. I've always been a WordPress man. I've talked about on my channel before, when it comes to software, your best bet is generally going with the most used one, because it's going to have the least bugs, and there's going to be the most tutorials on using it as well. Now, WordPress kind of sucks in a way in that it's open source, and because it's open source, it's hard to kind of fully use it, and it also gets hacked the most, so you have to be on top of it in terms of your security. Don't just set up WordPress and expect the default settings to be secure. So just telling you up front. But for the most part, WordPress will be fine. And that's what I would use. If I were to set up a website in that space you're in today, I would use WordPress. I would use WordPress because it's the tried and true. Jaro, for quality in the real estate investor space, max clicks or max conversion? So if you're talking about like cash for houses, that type of thing, I would definitely go for max clicks for quite a while, because it's such a low volume niche. I'm actually in that space right now still. And switch to max conversions after you've fully scaled that campaign up. We're talking about maxed it out. You cannot get any more spend going on that campaign. Mustafa, let's say to generate a lead in search ad is $10. How much will it cost to generate a demand gen lead with don't get ripped off, blah, blah, blah ads? Ultimately, surprisingly, it should be about the same. That type of lead generator is our go-to, and works extremely well. People love it. Competition hates or too afraid to use it. Just try it. At the worst case scenario is it's going to be $20-$30 a lead. Trust me. And if that doesn't work, put together how to get the results yourself without hiring somebody is the other main approach that we use. Find out how to get rid of your mole at home with no cost in 5 minutes, whatever, that kind of angle. And then do a little quiz using a lead quiz, which is an actual quiz service, something like that. Which, you may say, well, who gives a shit about somebody who doesn't want to pay? Well, the reality is they read that thing, they realize they can't do it themselves. And then, of course, now you've got the trust of the user, and you got your end already, basically. Because ultimately, sales, everybody just wants a lay down customer that just sell to me. I don't need anything. Good marketing and sales is able to take somebody with a genuine need and frustration and get them to buy on your flavor of it. You educate them on why yours is the best. And unless you get good at doing that, you're never going to be able to make a fortune, because there's only so many people almost ready to buy at any given time. And if only you focus on that, you're only going to get a small sliver of the market, and that's just it. There's a huge universe of people out there that are currently researching a solution that you can tap into that your competitors are just too lazy to go after. V4X, send me an invoice for a meeting. Okay, I'll make a note. Mustafa, would you ever scale a campaign that only has one ad group / one ad? Yeah. I mean, absolutely. It has the amount of ads and ad groups and all that has nothing to do with scalability itself. That said, if you can't increase the ad budget, the daily spend budget on your campaign, and then see your spend actually go up, the answer generally always is make more than one damn ad group, because that's always going to increase your click-through rate, whether that means different ad groups for different keywords or different ad groups for different demographics, old versus young, male versus female, because you now know what these people are going to respond to more than as a whole. Once you know somebody's old, you know those people buy for different reasons than young people do, or they're more patient versus young people are just totally impatient or whatever. And you can just tweak your copy, get a higher click-through rate, and you're going to scale. Jaro, cost per conversion has been bad as of late. Yeah, I mean, like I said at the start of this video, I mean, a lot of people in this business are going to bullshit you. And they're going to be like, oh, wow, business is greater than ever. All of our clients are making a fucking $10 billion. And the reality is the economy gets bad. Cost per conversion goes up. ROI starts to go down, at least in disposable income markets where people don't need to buy what you have. It's just really like a luxury. Particularly, by the way, I should clarify, when you're selling to people who are not in the top like 10% or 20% of income demographic, because these people, as soon as money gets a little tight, they basically don't have any disposable income anymore. And then your sales lock right up. It's always been since 50 years ago that when the recession hits, Cadillac sales and BMW sales and all that those don't go down. It's disposable income type or discretionary purchases to the middle class that get crushed right away. So if you're in a business like that, you're effed, at least until things turn around. Hey, Porter, 15 and Eric, Cole, could you conduct follower account reviews from Discord? Or you're here from Discord. So I'm not quite sure what your question is there. If you're asking, like, if you have a social media following and you want a review of what you have there, I guess I could, but I'm not a specialist there. Or maybe you need to clarify what you mean more. You say also, I have an issue 6 weeks in, my CTR is lowering and CPC is increasing. Generally speaking, if your CTR is actually going down without changing your ad copy, it's not a great sign that your copy is very good. If you're talking about search ads on Google itself, different platforms would be differently. That basically shows me your ad ranks going down. And if Google's pushing your ad rank down, then that means that your ad's not performing as good as the competition. You're getting punished. So you need to make your copy better. KCD, for low budget, $1,000 a month, chiropractor campaigns, do you recommend just going for exact match, low funnel, or some other approach? So, yeah, I mean, for $1,000 a month, I mean, actually, that's not that low of a budget for a chiropractor, because there's so many freaking chiropractors out there that if you're advertising to people more than like 3 miles away from your clinic, your ROI drastically decreases. Unless you have some specialized clinic that does some specialized thing, it's hard to get that to work. So in that case, or should I say, to be clear here, you'd be better off going wider but closer to the clinic than going exact match further away from the clinic, from what I've seen. Same thing goes for like dentists or any other commodity type medical service, which chiropractor is like the main other one other than dentistry itself. So you always want to go with exact match regardless if you could spend all your money there, because why the hell would you want to waste going after phrase match when you don't need to? You're just going to have to do more work adding these damn negative keywords, or at least wait for the algorithm to correct itself, and you don't need to. So do the exact match. But again, if I can do exact match and phrase match 3 miles versus exact match only and go 10 miles out, I'm picking the 3 mile every time, because it's not that hard to convince them to go down the street. And you could even in your ad copy then say, hey, we're on 14th and Jackson, and then get a really high click-through rate because people know exactly what you're talking about. And the same thing on your copy or your landing page. Sorry. Prasang Patel. Hey, Mr. Corey, finally made it to another live after a solid while. Yeah, I guess I caught you at a good time. KCD, I have one chiro that was getting 5 to 6 good per month, but 3 to 4 weeks ago dropped to 0. Not sure how to recover. Doing exact match, max conversions, 2-year-old account tracking is working. It could be related to the economy a little bit right now. Like I said, you don't hear about it on the news currently, but I'm telling you, for stuff like that, where it's like people can kind of delay their purchase a little bit, it's not good. There's a lot of people kind of panic and in conservation mode right now. That said, if you made adjustments to your campaigns, I'd be looking at undoing those or adjusting those. But if you haven't made any adjustments and your conversions have just tanked, potentially that's it. That said, the amount that you're saying it dropped doesn't make sense. So I don't want to say it's just all economic based. I would be looking at, if you're using max conversions there, to go switch over to manual bidding again, because a lot of times that will unjar the results. Anytime I'm using max conversions for a local service campaign like that, I'm going to go to manual bidding and try to get that to revive what we've got, and then go back to max conversions again after the spend is clearly being capped. Like, that is, the campaigns are all limited by budget. And then I'll switch back to max conversions because it can be more efficient then. But knowing that if I switch back and the conversions dive again, I'll just switch back to max manual bidding again. I just have to rewatch the replays. Funny enough, the amount of people watching the lives here is like 30, 40 people. And then the replay is more. It's over 100 ultimately. And I get more watch time on the replays than I get on a regular long video. People really like the commentary here. Jaro, what are you seeing cost per contract in the real estate space? Well, real estate's too generic. If you're talking about the cash for houses, and it'll also depend on what platform you're talking about. Like $1,000 if you set up your ads correctly, something like that. If you're talking about like regular, like real estate sales, several grand, something like that too as well. So please clarify. Unknown. In general, what have you noticed when it comes to the relation between season and the cost of running search ads? Is it expensive to run pest on winter or summer? Ultimately, winter, your cost per conversion is going to be crap compared to spring/summer in that pest control business. That's just the way that it is. Even if you're in a southern market where, like even in Florida or something like that, it's just the way that it is. But that said, what you want to do in a business like this is map out a certain budget by month throughout the year. You're spending so much in January, so much in February, so much in March. And that way, because what people will do is they're like, oh, I have my Ferrari payment, and I got to make my Ferrari payment this month. So the sales have to be so much in January. Otherwise, I can't make my Ferrari payment. And then they try to push their campaigns to do in January what it does in July, and it just doesn't work. The demand's not the same in January as it is in July. So you've got to be able to stock your money up that you're making in July to weather the January. And for that matter, if you try to spend the same in January as July, your cost per conversion is going to be shit compared in January compared to where it is in July. And the way that you counteract that is you spend $1,000 in January and you spend $5,000 in July, and then your cost per conversion is going to be the same, but it's the same because you were able to not chase the limited demand in January is the short of it. And the way that you identify this is after you've been in business a year already, you just see how the cost per lead trends, or the amount of leads that you get trends month to month. And this is just how you got to plan your whole year out a year in advance. I know people don't want to do that. They just want the fucking demand to be rock solid all year round. Exactly the same. The demand changes for every month of the year. You got to be prepared for it. And you got to take money you're earning in the sweet months and use it to cover your expenses in the bad months. And it's always going to be like that. KCD, my MediSpa campaign is getting about 30 qualifieds per month. I'm currently running ROAS with no target, seeing about 120%. Should I set a target now and start increasing? If your campaigns are limited by budget and you're spending your budget that you want to spend at this stage, yes, I would start to add one. If you're not easily spending your budget, then no, because you're just going to end up derailing your results. That said, don't set the target. Initially, I would even put it at like 130. And then that way you don't really screw up the momentum and progress that you have. And then wait a whole month before going to like 145, and then just keep walking it up real slowly like that. If you only do the increases like 10% at a time, and you wait like 3 to 4 weeks in between each increase, you definitely won't go backwards. You can go more aggressive than that, but the more aggressive you increase it, the more likely it is that you go backwards temporarily. And that's going to be the general rule of thumb. And for that matter, in like your situation, what I'll do is I'll come back literally every 30 days, look at it, say, oh, did the ROAS increase? No? Okay, well, I'm going to keep the target ROAS where it is for another month. Oh, it did increase. Okay, well, I'll raise the target ROAS again, 10%. And just keep doing that every month. Set a reminder. Do I increase? Do I not increase? And it's all dependent on, did the algorithm figure out how to get the ROAS up? And am I still spending the budget that I need to spend? Because a lot of times it'll go up, but the budget will go down. And then therefore you also have to wait another month before it raises the target ROAS again. 15 and Eric. I mean, if you do live Google Ads account reviews live. Oh, I know I said I was going to start doing these reviews live. What I think I'm going to have to do this, given that there's so many questions, we'll do like a second live every week. And on those lives, we'll do the account reviews. Now, that said, I don't know exactly the mechanism that will get this set up, in which because it takes time to get the access and all this. Perhaps what I'll do is I'll put a little sign up form on the description of my videos that'll say, if you want to volunteer for live optimization, for our weekly optimization, fill out this form, and then I'll look at the account, see if it's a good one to review. And not to say like everything's important to me, but at the same time, the audience needs to get value out of it too. Look at it, get access, and then that week we can go into it, and I can presumably do 2 or 3 in a row within that same hour. So that's what I'm kind of thinking that we would do. If you have any input or improvement of the idea that I just went through here, let me know. But the main thing is, if you'd like to be the first volunteer, just send me an email prior to this, me setting up what I just said. We'll get it set up. And because these live optimizations, I want to start doing them because, like I said, I get people asking me all the time, why on my channel do I not do them? And it's because clients who pay don't want their stuff shared, and for good reason. It's not one of those things where, it's proprietary information. So I can't share their campaign data. But if you're going to if I got volunteers, then absolutely we can do some optimization, and we can come back a month later and look at the account again, and you can learn, okay, the adjustments that we made, here's what it does. People can learn. KCD, it feels like we are in a recession. All these companies laying off tons of people and saying AI, but but it's all just nonsense. You're right. They say AI because the market goes up, the jobs are gone. Yeah, we're in a weird situation right now where the market's going up, but yet the fundamentals are all shit. So, which has got everybody kind of fooled, right? But at the end of the day, I can just tell you, like the street level economist I am, that things are not great. For that, one key thing I can point to that will back up what I'm saying is look at the auto repossessions. They are as high as they were in 2009. And even for not just subprime, but prime borrowers itself, why the hell aren't people able to make their car payments if the economy is doing so good? Yeah, PT/Chiro insanely oversaturated in New Jersey right now. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, if you're going to either close or you're some sort of celebrity chiro. And that's a way to go about marketing yourself, but don't be so dense and to think that people are going to trip over themselves to get to you if you're not some specialist celebrity chiro in your area and drive across town to get you, because that just doesn't work. 15 and Eric, when is a good time to set add to cart as a secondary conversion? How many real sales? So generally speaking, even when I get 10 or 20 conversions, sales conversions, I'll mark that add to cart secondary. Just keep in mind that as much as Google says that a goal marked in secondary, they don't use it for bidding purposes or steering purposes of your ads. They do. So it's worth it to set it up, even though you're not going to be using it very long, ultimately. So I mainly want it there for that. Yes, I'm going to use it as a primary goal at the beginning to get things off the ground quicker, but I'm going to go through the trouble of actually setting it up so that Google can use it long term. And for that matter, by the way, there's a release recently. Google hasn't pushed it out, but they're going to start it in 2026, where they're going to have you map out your entire sales funnel inside the conversion menu, which they kind of already do that in a way, but they're going to formalize it because these micro conversions add a ton of value to the algorithm, like immense amount of value to them, to their algorithm and how it will help you optimize your ads. Mustafa, have you ever helped someone sell their online course or digital product? If so, what would you recommend in that? So I don't get much of that because most of the people that are going to get into a business like that, it's a marketing style business to where 99% of the, your job in that business is just marketing and sales. And if you're going to get into it, you probably know marketing and sales. Therefore, you don't need my help. Guys that are plumbers need my help because they're not marketing guys. So not to say that I wouldn't know more than them. I do, but in their mind, that's what they're in business to figure this shit out for themselves, I guess is a simple way to put it. And, but I do get some, and it's still insanely profitable to sell courses. The main, by the way, business model that works though, if you want to get into info marketing nowadays, is to offer a free course with an upsell to a actual paid service on the back end. So, for instance, you could have a weight loss course that you market, and they have to opt in for that. And then you do a drip sequence afterwards. And then that sells them on the paid whatever service on the back end to help them, that's the thing that I see that's most profitable. Not this, hey, buy a $2,000 course, buy it or not, and there's no funnel or anything, even though people do that. But it's way more common doing the free to paid service on the back end, particularly as the paid service you got a decent size amount of lifetime value out of that client. So you could pay 10, 20, 30, 50 bucks for an opt-in, and that's fine because you're going to be making 1,000 on the back end with the upsell to the service. That's a really effective model. So that doesn't even really make it a course business per se. You're using the course / whatever information to get the actual client you want. You're not just using the course to sell another course. Now, it is still possible. You're just going to have to be super good about your drip sequence. I mean, like really good at copywriting in order to get a free opt-in to a paid, course and have that math work. You have to be really good at what you're doing in terms of copywriting, in terms of ad copywriting, drip sequence copywriting. And if you are an excellent copywriter, it's not going to work. Mustafa, you mentioned that demand gen and search ads are almost the same cost for a lead. Then why even do demand gen? Well, honestly, you don't. You start out with the search ads, and when you are unable to scale anymore and you're still hungry for growing your business, then you add in the demand gen. So it's a great question, and I don't blame you for criticizing or bringing up that point. I'm glad you brought it up. It's always, when you start out marketing online for your business, there's always 10,000 freaking things you can do. The question is, which one do you do? And it really helps to ask a guy like me in that case, instead of just randomly picking something if you don't know. But you always try to pick the low-hanging fruit. And for that matter, if you don't start out with the search ads, guess what happens? You're going to market to them on Facebook. They're going to delay their purchase. They're going to go to Google. You're not there, and somebody else gets them. So you'd always typically want to start with search ads. But then what most people do, though, is they stop there. They're like, I tried display ads. It didn't work. Well, you didn't do it right. And if you did it right, you'd 10x the amount of sales you could make, because there's 10 times as much people out there looking for information on how to, fix their transmission than looking to hire a transmission shop to fix their transmission. And if they just would have got in with them early, they would have got that business, but they just didn't want to put that work in. Porter, demographics revisiting. Would you recommend eliminating that top bottom 10% initially or later on when you're trying to refine a campaign? Well, there's no bottom 10%. There's bottom 50%. It really depends on what I know about that market, right? Anymore, at least when you're talking about the US, I mean, unless it's something that people have to buy, you're going to go broke trying to market to people even in the bottom 80%. People just don't have any money anymore. They have money. They're all maxed out on their credit. You're not going to make any money selling to them anymore. You should start out with the top 20% and then bring in the others later on if you want to try to see what you can squeeze out of them too. But if it's something that they have to buy, then I would just do all of it right away. KCD, Google turned on store visits for a bunch of my accounts. Are you using this at all? I have a laundromat. I guess it's good for, but the doctor's offices just seem to double count and whatnot. Yeah, I actually love the fact that they have it in there. Usually you need to have the Google location or you link your Google business profile to your Google Ads account to get it. And it's the data for the most part is pretty solid. Unlike other auto-created goals that I can't say the same for. So yes, I'm definitely using that. That said, it shouldn't be an excuse to not do any other forms of tracking, though. Certainly not. In particular, getting people when they come in to redeem a voucher code or have to give their name to sign in and you tie that together on your account. You should do all that stuff too. But it's a great supplemental piece of information or data that you can use to optimize your ads. Zero, cash for house investing space, statewide, 15 states, cost per contract to clarify. So just as a little hint, Bing is going to be cheaper. Certainly you're looking at like 1,000 plus on Google, whereas on Bing, it can be 1,000 or less. And for Facebook, if you want to do that, it's going to be similar, like 1,000, somewhere in that range, something in terms of marketing cost. 15 and Eric, I would like to be the first one. Yeah, no problem. Just like I said, email me and let's get something lined up. I think due to the popularity of these Q&As, it'll be great for our brand to do these live optimizations, and then people can see in a practical way how to do this stuff. KCD, live account review would be awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that feedback. The main thing is I think that the way that we'll have to do this is we need to do like a rapid fire thing. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of boring. So I'll line up the accounts like for prior for that I'm going to review that week, and we'll spend 5 to 10 minutes. I'll go through telling that person what to do. We'll make the changes that with the requirement needing to be that if you're going to ask me what to do and I tell you to do it and you don't do it, then I'm next, you're not eligible to come back again. Sorry, but because otherwise it would just be boring. Like, oh, he told me what to do and then I didn't want to do it. And then what was the whole point of it? But then you're also required to come back in a month to show what the result was so that, hey, if I'm wrong, I'll admit to it. You can see that I was wrong, but also you got to have that follow-up. Otherwise it's not helpful to the user just knowing, oh, well, this is theory still. It doesn't really tell me anything. I want to see what you say you need to do, why you need to do it, and then that it actually worked or didn't work, and I saw the evidence of it. Then you got something super valuable. So that's what I want to do. My email is Corey, Corey, at guaranteedppc.com. Prasang, is client acquisition in 2025 for new starters about spending money in paid ads to get own paying clients exceptional results, or something else entirely? If you're talking about PPC management, we spend probably $5,000 in marketing and advertising costs to get and acquire a client. The average lifetime value of clients, $30,000, something like that. Why? Because they stay on average years, and you got to be good to get them to stay. If all you can do is get them to stay for a few months, so you can't pay that, and then you're going to be always struggling. I mean, like, that's, unfortunately, that's the way that it is, because there's so much competition. It takes a lot to get somebody to be convinced fully to hand over the keys to their ad account. I mean, think about it from their perspective. You could completely kind of fuck up my business here if you screw up. All the cold channels, you need mass volume and infrastructure to account for no shows, no follow-ups. Same with paid ads, not to mention all the contractors have been burned by bad results. Yeah, I mean, that's it too. I mean, all these people have been burned before. How are you going to convince them that you're different? Well, it's going to take a lot of content and education, which they got to find that content. You got to spend on ads to get it. Regardless of what you do, it's going to cost money. So your best bet is, if you have no money, you do the free stuff. But you got to advance past the free freaking shit at some point. Otherwise, you're just never going to get very many clients. You got to be able to scale. And that goes for any business. Do the free shit until you have enough money to start an ad campaign. And then the ad campaign is where you scale, ultimately. We do direct mail. We do, of course, I've got social media. We do, therefore, content. I mean, you can even do search engine journal. You can do paid webinars. That costs about $15,000 a pop to do those, but you'll get clients from them. I mean, for the most part, you get what you pay for, though. If you're going to stick to email because it's free, it's going to take 1,000 emails to get any results, and you have to work your ass off for it. Whereas with letters, yes, it's $1 a letter or $2 a letter that you send it out, but that's the one letter they got this week. So it's effective. You get what you pay for. Mustafa, is custom segments still the best cheat in Google Ads for now? When you're talking about display campaigns, it is, or demand gen or YouTube. Hey there, Think and Grow Successful. I see you. Mind giving me a comparison website a look? I see that all companies in space are doing websites like that without collecting leads. It's for people opening high yield savings accounts with banks. Would you recommend I add lead collection and call those clients instead of just a comparison table? I had an idea years ago, which I'm pretty confident would still work. Why doesn't somebody put on a web page the cost of every single plumber in the city for a standard service? And then when somebody searches for like drain opening services, you can have an ad that says every drain opening service in the whole city ranked by cost. People would click through, and then you could just sell spots on that page. I never did that, but that'd be pretty useful for the consumer. The same thing could be done in the, you're in the banking space. Because you collected all that information, it'd be useful to them. And I would even think in that case, you would give away the information, but to get, like the top, like you would show like 90% of it, and the top one with the best rates, you'd have to enter your email to get it, something like that. That would be very effective. KCD, when dealing with doctors / insurances, how do you value patients? They often don't get paid for months later. Do you just get an average for each reimbursement for each insurance / specialty type? You got to estimate. In a lot of situations with clients, we'll, instead of doing revenue, we'll do presumed revenue or estimated revenue. So, or if that's too hard, you do a lead score. Score that particular prospect between 1 and 10, 10 being the most likely to be a good patient, and go that route with it and use that as your conversion value. So, I mean, obviously the closer to get to actual sales you can get, the better, or even profit beyond that. If you can optimize for levels of profit after accounting expenses, that'd be even more accurate in terms of what you get from your ads. Do what you do get as close to, profit as you can. Ultimately, that given that the data may take too long to get into the account and you only got 90 days to do it. Faro Pest Control. How much do I need for a monthly budget to start if I hire you as a service company? And how long does it take to see results in pest control? I'm interested in hiring you. So it depends on the options. I don't want to waste too much of our audience's time here, but generally speaking, we charge around $4,000 a month. If you take our guarantee program, where we charge nothing up front until you get a certain minimum result on your campaign. So because we have to work for free for a few months, we got to recoup that money back somehow. And so when we do charge, we charge significant amount of money. So the idea here would be like for a pest control company, you start with a $3,000 month budget. We would guarantee at least 75 leads on that $3,000 budget that is qualified leads before you have to be on the hook for paying us anything. Once we reach that minimum threshold, that $4,000 a month would kick in. Okay. If you don't want to do that and you want to pay us sooner, we'll take significantly less money, because we're not working for free for like 90 to 120 days to reach that minimum threshold, which I'm not saying it would take that long, but just hypothetically speaking, we'll charge like $2,000 a month if you're willing to pay us when, we start working, essentially. So depending on what you want, it's the same work we're doing in either case. It's just, do you want to buy a so-called warranty on our service where you guaranteed get it to work and be profitable? And if so, it's going to cost more. Otherwise, you can pay us a lesser amount and not get that. But we're willing to do either. I give people both options because frankly, it's kind of like a gimmick in a way that nobody else offers a guarantee. I know what I'm doing. So let's just simplify this whole process and say, hey, if you don't get the damn results you're looking for, I won't take a fee. So it's simple. I don't have to do all this big song and dance to explain why it's going to work and how it's going to work. And for sure it's going to work. It's, hey, I have confidence enough in what we're doing. If you don't get the result I say you're going to get, you don't have to pay me anything. And Eric, like I said, just email me. We'll set something up. Dracon, hey Corey, live optimization seems awesome. Would you do this only with US accounts that have English keywords? So no, absolutely not. That said, if it's all in Russian or something like that, it's going to be a little hard for me to know what to do. That said, I mean, the keywords being in another language doesn't really matter that much because I get the general gist of what you're trying to do anyway, and probably can work around that. So don't just assume that because it may not be in English, I can't actually do anything there with you. Porter Sims, demographics. Yes, I was referring to bottom 50%. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, as much as I tried to write an article for Forbes about how marketing to the bottom 80% in US is like a waste of time now, and they wouldn't publish my article because they thought I was being too insensitive. So in today's world, particularly in America, everybody's been so pussified that they can't handle the truth about, you know, how the middle class is basically gone now. But it is. And as a marketer, if you're not pragmatic and you're idealistic, you're going to go broke. So fortunately, you got to go with the times. Demographics. Once you have enough data to convert to target ROAS using smart bidding, would Google more so eliminate that bottom 15% automatically? Yeah, I mean, essentially that's what it's doing. In addition to 1,000 other things, but that's a part of it. Yeah. Faro Pest Control. Do you have any call answering service you recommend? Depends on, okay, so you're in pest control. Ultimately, answering services as a whole, they're completely dog shit. I don't care which one you basically use. They're all using $10 an hour airheads to answer the phone. They don't give a fuck whether you make a sale or not. And they don't care if they get fired because they can find another $10 an hour job anywhere. Unfortunately, this is the way that it is. And I always ask myself, why isn't it then there isn't an elite answering service that charges, instead of $40 a month, they charge $400 a month. And apparently it is because the market's so cheap that nobody wants to pay. Not enough people would pay that it just doesn't exist. So I wish there was one like really quality service that didn't hire the boneheads that you could hire. That would be effective, and they wouldn't drop your calls and they wouldn't treat your customers like they're an idiot. But there's not, as far as I know of. And it's so bad that you're better off using AI to freaking answer the phone than to even have an answering service answering it nowadays. It's that bad. So, and I've got a video about how we tested this and verified it actually is better than the human-based answering services now, particularly for a service like yours, which the AI can answer the phone. It can book a meeting with the person. It sounds exactly like a human. And I can give you example numbers of businesses that have this, and you cannot not tell it's a human. And it'll book the appointment, put it on your calendar, all done for you by the AI. So I would recommend going that route versus the answering service, personally, if I were you. So, I mean, I know that's not what you asked, but, you know, that's what I would recommend. And if you want to know where that video is, make sure you comment on one of my most recent videos, and I'll point you to the video where I talk about that. And you can get these AI-based answering services that are better than a human answering service anyway. The human-based answering services are going to be phased out in the next 5 years. They're not trying enough. Their systems aren't good enough to beat the AI. Porter Sims, using SKAG. So you should always use SKAG. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. Think, grow, successful. How can we apply for live optimization? So just like I mentioned earlier, do the query at guaranteedppc.com, and that's how you could do it. For now, I'll formalize the process here. You guys motivated me. And Eric, I see what you mean. It's all about the strategy, not the language. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I mean, you can get into the minutia. Of course, the keyword and all that matters. But as far as me teaching, a lot of this stuff, or at least for what I can teach that's going to apply to other accounts that can easily be transferred, it has nothing to do with the keyword itself, per se, for the most part. KCD, thank you for your time and work, Corey. Really appreciate the channel videos plus Q&A. Yeah, I appreciate the comment. I mean, for the most part, what you're going to find elsewhere online, I started recently trying to cross promote my channel by commenting on other channels, even on YouTube. And the amount of information you get, particularly about Google ads, what I try to focus on more, is just such garbage. There's really, I swear to it, I swear to God, what the 90% of the information you're going to find elsewhere is the guy is going to ChatGPT and he's saying, write me a video about script about blah, 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 blah. And they're just reading off what ChatGPT put together for them. That's most of it nowadays. You can't trust it. As a result, there's no, definitive information there that makes it any different than what Google would give you. And you got to be cognizant of that. It's very disingenuous to do that, but they're catering to the part of the market that isn't very educated and wants a simple solution. So I guess I can't blame them. They're giving the market what they want. But as soon as you have even a modicum of understanding about Google ads and whatnot, you understand how much shit that content is, and it's not going to do anything for you. It's actually going to send you backwards because it's going to give you false confidence and information that's not going to get you anywhere and send you backwards, technically. Mustafa, best email / drip sequence software for WordPress, AWeber, Mailchimp, Brevo. ClickFunnels, I think, is still probably the best, I would say. I use Unbounce also. So ClickFunnels is probably it. I know a lot of people are using Go High Level nowadays. But yeah, that's what I would say. Faro, what AI answering service do you recommend? So like I said, what I recommend to you seriously is to comment under one of my latest videos. Just say, please send me to the video that talks about the AI answering service. And then I'll send you that. Plus, I'll send you 2 other businesses that use the service. And then you watch that video, call the examples, and you'll be sold on the process and you'll have all the details instead of just the bare minimum, because there's some other information you should know about it if you're going to do it. And then I'll also give you the service as well. Okay. Vector. Hi, Corey. Struggling as an electrician trying to get general electrical services and EV charger installation. Any tips on how to set up my campaigns? I've done work in this space heavily. If you set up your ads correctly, you can get a lead cost of about $50 a lead, which is quite profitable, at least for general electrical services. And the key to it is you got to ideally target buying keywords, electrical service contractor, electrical service company, like that at the beginning to get a really good return right away. Custom landing pages, I would recommend SKAG setup. And if you really want to shortcut the process, buy our template. It's literally copy and paste in your account and you're done, and you get those kind of results versus screwing around, trying to test it, figure everything out. You'll have all the results you want right away. If you want that, you can reach out to me through my site at guaranteedppc.com, and I'll tell you the price for the template. I'll also show you the results that we got. Dracon, what about messaging you in Discord about live optimization or email only? Yeah, if you want to do Discord, that's fine. It's fine with me. And Eric, yeah, I saw you commenting from Elena from Teach Traffic. I figured, the best way to kind of get the rest of the word out about this channel is to comment on all the other main channels, right? It makes logical sense. And I'm commenting as, there, some of them, it's not that there's no useful information out there. It's just most of it is crap. So I'm hoping that I'm going to siphon off the traffic from them and send it to this channel because you're going to get a much better deal on their time, of course. Drakon. Yeah, big Google ads. YouTubers are dog poo-poo. You are the real G. I know I'm not supposed to talk shit about competitors. People always say that's a weak move, but the reality is it is what it is. And what I've learned recently about social media is people nowadays, they want and crave authenticity more than anything else. We're past the days of people wanting political correct bullshit. They want to know what the truth is. And if it looks like you're trying to be politically correct, people are going to actively distrust you because of it. So there's no point in trying to please everybody, because the mere act of trying to do that is going to turn people off to your message anyway. So yes, you're going to turn some people away doing that, but people that are tired of bullshit, essentially. So the filter's off from now on. And, you know, for that matter, I want to even go a bit more conspiratorial about this. Some of these people that are talking about Google ads, I want to even say that maybe even paid by Google or whatnot to, you know, steer the conversation in a certain direction, which if you got Google, if you're Google and you got billions of dollars, why not do that? Oh, yes, broad match is great. You should do auto apply recommendations. And if you're going to spend all this money on sales, account reps, sales reps, to call everybody and try to convince them to increase their spend, why not also just hire people to be on social media and spread the word the way that you want it spread? So I know that's really getting on shaky ground mentioning even this in the first place on this channel, but something to think about. Vector, how much is the template? Where to buy? So I charge like $3,000 for the campaign, the landing page. It's basically a copy paste formula. If you want it customized to your branding and installed with the tracking, I charge more, and I can do that for you. But that's basically the cost, which I know it may sound like a lot, but frankly, 90% of the results you get on Google Ads is how you do it. The ad spend is only useful and relevant if you have the right setup. And that's a one-time cost. And once you've paid for it, it's going to keep working likely for years and years and years. So you can try to set it up yourself. And if you can, you can. But if you can't, that's a guaranteed way to get the numbers I talked about, which are profitable. So we're at the top of the hour here. I am going to have to wrap this up, guys. Ultimately, sorry I couldn't answer all the questions here. Pretty much got through all of them here, though. I do have templates for insurance as well, depending on though what type of insurance you're talking about. And they do, yes, they don't go into depth on it. Which, I mean, frankly, the social media as a whole is like that too, right? Like you got marketers who are trying to make money off of social media. They pick a niche that they think is going to be profitable. They have no knowledge about that niche. They use ChatGPT to come up with a script, and they just read the script. I mean, ultimately, ChatGPT could do so much nowadays. You could be like, write me a script about an experience going to Mount Fuji in Japan when I was drunk, and it's going to spit it out. And then you can have an AI or a bot read the script. Then you can have the visuals done by a script or AI. You don't even know what you're watching anymore, if it's real or not. You can't tell. You literally can't tell. And the people doing the experts that could give real information out, they're usually pretty busy. I mean, like I said before, I've got to work 80 hours a week to do what I'm doing here, because 40 hours a week, I got to do client work. So, and most people don't want to do that. They either want to do client work or they want to do the YouTube. And if they got time for YouTube, they don't know shit about what they're talking about. So unfortunately, that's the state of affairs, the way that it is. You just got to be cognizant of that for what you watch. Watch what you should watch and not just automatically believe anything you hear. Just cross-reference it in other places. Do your own research. It's great for getting ideas, but do your own research. Just like anything I say, don't just believe what I say. Go out there and try to corroborate it. And even though most people aren't going to believe what I'm saying, so if everybody disagrees with me, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. And I would say in the best case with me and my information is, because everybody's going to say something else mostly, is to try the stuff yourself on a small scale basis. See if it works. Get ideas. If you're stuck for ideas, use my ideas. But anyway, with that said, I'm already over here. Thank you guys so much for coming and asking the questions. Message me on Discord or through my email for the live optimization stuff. And I'll be back next week. If you have any other questions I couldn't get to, I'll answer them then.